very much. Well, my name's Tony Stephen. As Graham has said, I get to be the minister in Bankery, and I intend in this wee while to say as little as possible, because one of our aims in the Bankery Growing Young project is to do as much listening as we can to each other as possible, and that's definitely what we're here to do now. These folks hopefully have seen some of the questions that we're thinking about just now, and I've asked them just to talk about the ones that they respond to. So since we've got you on screen and the other guys aren't quite spotlighted yet, I'm going to get you, Abigail, to start off. So if there's one of those questions you want to kick off with, and if not, I will certainly pick one for you. Do you want to unmute, Abigail, and then you can go for it?
Yeah, sure. I am more than happy to answer the first one, which is, what is it like to be a young person? Yes, and adult. So I think there is definitely a pressure to be woke nowadays. And if you don't know what that means, it's just like, agreeing, essentially, I hope I'm not butchering this, but essentially agreeing with all beliefs and accepting everybody, which, without offending anyone, that's quite difficult. And accepting all truths is also difficult. And actually, I think that comes from a hunger of the fact that young kids want to know who Jesus is, and they're searching for that truth, which we know is in Jesus. And I think it's a double-edged sword. It's tricky to be accepting of all cultures, but then you do have that hunger of they're searching for Jesus, and that's exciting. I think there is the issue of young people are very much exposed to every issue on social media, that is just, they're kind of bombarded with it, which makes them kind of numb to it's really sensitive stories and images, but that's because they're just overexposed to these kind of things, which means that it wakes up a hunger to fix a very broken world, but it also makes them numb. So there's a bit of a balance there. And yeah, I think it's not all negative. I definitely think there's a lot of really good things about being a young adult nowadays. I think young people are so passionate nowadays. They're so passionate about the world issues, and I really think there's they don't shy away from what they want. And actually, there's a lot of young people that I've met that really catch me by surprise, and they've taught me a lot about Jesus. So yes, it's not all bad. They're definitely changing stigmas around mental health. And actually, over the lockdown and after COVID, they've been really good at asking those bigger questions, which is wonderful. And they're researching a deeper meaning of life, which is leading them closer to Jesus, which is amazing. So, yeah.
Thank you for that, Abigail. Right, maybe we'll go to Christy now. Is there anything particular, Christy? You'll need to unmute yourself.
Hello. So I think actually question 4, which is, what do you think? No, that's the wrong one. What advice might you offer to churches in this season? And a kind of question 2, but essentially, as Abigail was saying, at least for myself, but because I can't really speak for that, but we really are concerned about the future, and we want to take action in some sort of way. So this gives the church an opportunity to give young people a way to be involved in this, because obviously Jesus is all about helping those in need and making our world, more, loving. So that's a way to connect. Like, for example, and then a way how to do this is things are much more global these days rather than just a local community. So, for example, we're all over Scotland, some people in America, yet we're all getting together. We've never seen each other in person, and that's kind of just normal for people our sort of age, and it might be a bit abnormal to others. I've taken part in a course with a charity called Tear Fund, and that was young people talking about social justice issues. And I've never met the people. They're all over the UK, some in Europe and stuff, but it was an amazing course. Grew my faith a lot through that course. Magnitude, which is like a big event in the summer, like a camp thing. Obviously during lockdown that hasn't been able to happen, and they've provided online resources for that. So those are sort of things and ideas you can get for your church to get involved with young people, I think that's what I'm wanting to say.
Thank you, Christine. Rebecca, how about you? Is there anything around the gaps or in those questions that you wanted to respond to?
I'm thinking about question 3, and again, I can only kind of speak for myself, but I do have a little bit of awareness of some of the other young people in my community. And I feel like question 3 is, what do you think young people and young adults need most now and over the next few months, just in case anyone doesn't know the questions. So I feel like people in my sort of age, young adults, they just want to feel loved and accepted and valued and treasured and feel like they can actually bring something, and they're not just, we don't know anything about life because we're young. You know, we don't want to be made to feel like that. So I think it's really important to give us opportunities to kind of grow in ourselves and in our faiths and in our communities and feel like we're a big part of that. And I'm really grateful that I've been asked to be part of this growing young process, because I feel like it's definitely given me a great opportunity to be part of this really cool thing. I think having groups within churches that give support to young people, to just let them know that it's okay, that they don't really know what they want to do or who they are or what they can bring. Because I feel like there is also quite a lot of pressure to know exactly what you're doing and have to get it right first time. And I think it's the church is a great place to kind of share the message of God, that, you know, you're loved by God and all that matters is that you're you and that you're perfect the way you are, and God made you in his dream way, and that it's okay that if you don't know what you're doing, and that's fine. And I think just growing up in a loving church family where that message of just God's unconditional 24/7 love is just really important, especially at the moment where people are maybe finding it more difficult to know what they want to do because the pandemic has sort of maybe changed people's minds, or things have happened to make things different. So yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. And Fraser, how about you? Is there anything about being a young or young adult, or is there anything that teenagers and young adults are doing just now that might be helpful for folk to know, or any advice you think churches need to hear?
Yeah, well, before that, I just thought I'd bring us back to question 1, if I can, just to
absolutely.
speak about what's it like being a teenager or a young adult just now. I think one of the hard kind of things this stage, at this kind of age, I mean, I'm 21, but there's a lot of decisions just now, obviously, and like a lot of pressure, I suppose, for people making decisions about their future, and that can be really tough. And I think especially during COVID as well, it has to be kind of mentioned. It's not nice having to speak about it all the time, but it's kind of always there at the moment. So and it almost feels like a lot of your life is kind of being decided for you, particularly like your social life is, you know, it's kind of going according to kind of what the government and the country sort of says. So that part is very tiring. But I think for me, life-giving, some of my highlights of the week are my Bible study on a Tuesday and getting to worship on a Sunday and having that kind of social aspect, whether it's on like virtual on Zoom like this, or obviously in person on a Sunday. Like I mean, I came to faith during COVID, so that's been obviously, like, COVID's been life-changing for me in many ways. So I think definitely just having the life-giving part is just being able to be even on a platform like this where you get to share thoughts and stories and share things about your faith just naturally on a platform where you don't feel like there's any pressure, because I feel like it takes the strain away from some of the other things in life, the decisions you're having to make. And it kind of takes your, you know, your thoughts away from that, because then it feels like life's sort of less draining in a way. I think kind of leading in a little bit to, I suppose, the advice for churches. I mean, one thing that I've sort of discovered throughout my short kind of Christian journey so far, it's only been about a year and a bit, is worship music. That's always something that that's something that's really helped me. So I think music is obviously just such a powerful thing. It doesn't matter whether you're a young person, you know, everyone loves music. So I think really focusing on having like songs which are, you know, anointed, just powerful songs that to be played in churches and big gatherings of people. For me, there's nothing better than that, and that's just obviously something that's really life-giving as well. So yeah, I think those things for sure.
Good, thank you. Seeing lots of nods on the other screens. Josh and Benjamin, welcome back. How about you guys? What would you like to tell us about what it's like for young folk just now? What is hard, or what's life-giving, or what do you want to say? Josh, do you want to go first?
Sure. The question that I want to talk about is for advice for the church. I mean, something which has always been important for churches, but especially now because of the uncertainty of everything, is sticking to biblical truth and not bending the word of God to fit the world, but try to bend the world to fit the word of God. Because especially with COVID and everything going on, people are feeling a bit lost. And if we can try and stick to what the Bible says we should be doing, and obviously no one's perfect, we won't get it 100% right, but if we can stick to that as much as we can try to be a beacon of light in the darkness, and people will naturally come towards that truth, because I don't know, my own personal experience and people that I know, it's not been a very good time for them. So if they can find something to comfort them, then they'll naturally go towards that.
Thank you. Benjamin?
I think for me, I'm just going to sort of combine all the questions into one, if that's all right.
Perfect.
Like during the beginning of COVID, I was like you missed your friends, but then I got to like more realize that God is also there, and so I was able to spend more time with Him. And when I walk to my school, spending time in prayer, not only for myself, but praying on the spiritual armor for all the other Christians that go to my school, and then the people who do not believe, to like that their hearts may be opened and their ears and all the rest. And then you get to meet people at your school or work that you thought they wouldn't be absolutely interested in. I'm in a RMPS classroom, and like the person I sit next to believes in witchcraft and is a goth, and then they like always ask me different questions about, oh, you're a Christian, and then but you always put on the spot almost every single day, but it's about giving the glory to God. And even though they might ask you questions that people might end up judging you, you've got to stand firm in your faith. And then it's and just being a light, because I always wanted to put myself into their shoes, and I was like, because we are the light of the world, and yeah, it's like a mirror, for example. Some mirrors are intact, but then some are just broken and shattered, but that's sometimes the most beautiful one, when the light shines on broken bits of glass and it shines and makes the most beautiful patterns. And then when they look, and because my parents always said when I walked out the door, remember, you might be the only Bible they read today. So always having that like in my mind, always go. And then so they would put me to the test, but then the way they see that, no matter like I shine that light in God's love, they look and they're like, there's something that he has that no one else really has in this class. And then so then they ask, and then I just open up and say it's God and all that. And me and Josh had the chance of, because our church had a youth service, and we were doing a sermon, and I'm like, oh guys, I'm doing this, probably make an idiot of myself, but would you like to come and watch? And then some of them came, and then and then some of them still keep on coming, and they ask me questions, and they've gotten more involved with the church because they're seeking for that longness and like someone to love them, and what is actually true and purpose in life, and they're just seeking. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. We're getting towards the end of our time. Just Josh and Benjamin, do you have Christy there with you as well? Does she want to You want to let her? There she is. She can, yeah. Go for it, Christy.
The question that probably jumped out at me was number 4, the advice that you would use to or give to churches just now, particularly in this season, is to use your young people. If you are blessed at Fullerton, we are blessed. We've got a whole big range of young people, and they have skills and talents that sometimes can be overlooked because of their age. So, or they're maybe not considered for something because they're young. And we have so many good, talented young people. So my advice for churches would be, don't overlook your young people, use them. We've just done a few things in church where we've actually used Josh and Benjamin to lead devotionals and things, and people are coming up afterwards, and what they get out of it is such a blessing. And that's like big, it's devotionals, it's sermons and things. So when you have young people in the church, don't just assume that they don't have talents that can be used, because they can, and everybody's blessed from that. So that's my advice to churches.